Epictetus Discourses is one of the most influential philosophical works in the Stoic tradition, offering practical guidance on how to live a life of virtue, wisdom, and inner peace. Unlike many other philosophers, Epictetus did not focus on abstract metaphysical questions but instead concentrated on practical ethics, teaching his students how to live in accordance with nature and reason. His teachings, recorded by his student Arian, emphasize the importance of self-discipline, personal responsibility, and the distinction between what is within our control and what is not. The Discourses articulates how one can achieve tranquility and resilience in the face of life's difficulties by focusing on what truly matters, our own thoughts, actions, and judgments. One of the most central ideas in Epictetus Discourses is the Stoic distinction between what is inside our control and what is outside it. Epictetus stresses repeatedly that we should focus our attention and effort only on what we can control, our own choices, desires, and attitudes, while accepting with equanimity the things we cannot control, such as external events, other people's actions, or even our own physical health. This idea is foundational to the Stoic approach to life and is perhaps the most famous teaching of Epictetus. He writes, "Some things are up to us and some are not up to us." This clear division between what is and is not under our control is key to achieving the Stoic ideal of tranquility, because it allows us to let go of anxiety and frustration over things we cannot change, and instead focus our energy on living virtuously. Epictetus emphasizes that our judgments and interpretations of events are what cause us suffering, not the events themselves. He explains that external circumstances, in and of themselves, are neither good nor bad. It is our opinions about them that determine how we feel. For example, being insulted or criticized is not inherently harmful. What harms us is our belief that the insult diminishes our worth or dignity. Epictetus teaches that we must be vigilant in controlling our thoughts and not allowing external events to dictate our emotional state. He writes, "It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them." By changing our judgments and perceptions, we can cultivate emotional resilience and maintain inner peace, regardless of what happens around us. This focus on controlling our judgments leads to one of Epictetus' most important teachings, the idea that we are responsible for our own happiness or misery. Happiness, according to Epictetus, is not something that depends on external circumstances, such as wealth, success, or the approval of others. Instead, it is entirely up to us, because it is determined by how we choose to think and act. If we live in accordance with reason and virtue, we can be happy regardless of what happens to us. This is a radical idea because it shifts the responsibility for our well-being entirely onto ourselves. Epictetus writes, "No man is free who is not master of himself." In this sense, freedom, for Epictetus, is not about political liberty or material wealth, but about the freedom to govern one's own mind and emotions. True freedom comes from within, from the ability to choose how we respond to life's challenges. In the Discourses, Epictetus also frequently discusses the concept of prohairesis, a term often translated as moral choice or moral purpose. For Epictetus, prohairesis is the faculty that allows us to make decisions and to exercise our moral will. It is the most important part of who we are, because it is the source of our capacity for virtue and, therefore, for happiness. Our prohairesis is entirely within our control, and it is through the proper use of this faculty that we can live in accordance with nature and reason. Epictetus urges his students to be constantly aware of their prohairesis and to exercise it wisely, because it is through this faculty that we determine the quality of our lives. He writes, "Remember that it is not he who gives abuse or blows who affronts, but the view we take of these things as insulting." Epictetus also teaches the importance of living in accordance with nature, a central tenet of Stoicism. For the Stoics, living in accordance with nature means recognizing that we are rational beings and that our highest purpose is to live in accordance with reason. This involves understanding the natural order of the universe, accepting the things we cannot change, and acting in a way that is consistent with our rational nature. For Epictetus, this means living virtuously, practicing wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. He believed that by living in harmony with nature and reason, we can achieve a state of inner tranquility and resilience, even in the face of life's inevitable hardships. He writes, "To live well is to live in accordance with nature." This idea of living in accordance with nature also extends to Epictetus' teachings on accepting fate. The Stoics believe that everything in the universe happens according to a rational and divine plan, and that we should accept whatever happens to us as part of this plan. Epictetus teaches that we should not resist or resent the hardships we face but should instead view them as opportunities to practice virtue. Another important teaching in the Discourses is the Stoic idea of cosmopolitanism, the belief that all human beings are part of a larger, interconnected whole. Epictetus stresses that we are all citizens of the world and that we have a duty to treat others with kindness, fairness, and respect, regardless of their social status or nationality. He teaches that we should view others as fellow rational beings and that we should act with justice and compassion in all our dealings. This sense of universal brotherhood is a key aspect of Stoic ethics, which emphasizes the importance of living in accordance with reason and recognizing the shared humanity of all people. Epictetus writes, "You are a citizen of the universe." This teaching on cosmopolitanism is closely related to Epictetus' reflections on the Stoic virtue of justice. Epictetus believed that justice involves treating others fairly and recognizing their inherent dignity as rational beings. He teaches that we should not be swayed by personal biases or emotions when dealing with others but should instead act with fairness and impartiality. This emphasis on justice is central to Stoic ethics, which views virtue as the highest good and teaches that we should act in accordance with virtue in all aspects of our lives. For Epictetus, living justly is not just about following laws or social conventions but about living in accordance with the deeper moral laws of the universe. Epictetus also emphasizes the importance of self-discipline and self-control in achieving a virtuous life. He teaches that many of our emotional disturbances and moral failings stem from a lack of self-discipline, particularly when it comes to controlling our desires and attachments. The Stoics believe that excessive attachment to things outside our control, whether it be wealth, status, or physical pleasure, leads to suffering and moral corruption. Epictetus urges his students to practice moderation and to focus on what is truly important, living virtuously and in accordance with reason. He writes, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." This focus on self-control is central to Stoic ethics, which teaches that true happiness comes not from external success but from inner mastery over one's desires and emotions. In addition to self-discipline, Epictetus also teaches the importance of gratitude and contentment. He encourages his students to appreciate what they have and to avoid constantly striving for more. According to Epictetus, much of our dissatisfaction in life comes from comparing ourselves to others or from desiring things that are beyond our reach. By focusing on what we already have and practicing gratitude, we can cultivate a sense of contentment and inner peace. He writes, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." In the second part of Epictetus Discourses, the philosopher continues to explore key Stoic ideas, delving deeper into the nature of virtue, the role of reason in human life, and how to cultivate inner freedom in the face of external challenges. One of the central themes in this section is the Stoic concept of virtue as the only true good. For Epictetus, virtue is not just one aspect of a good life, it is the good life. Everything else, including wealth, fame, health, and even life itself, is indifferent in comparison to virtue. He teaches that living virtuously is the only path to true happiness and that all external goods are secondary, or even irrelevant, to the state of one's soul. This radical focus on virtue as the highest goal shapes the rest of his teachings, as he instructs his students to prioritize moral excellence above all else. Epictetus argues that the pursuit of virtue requires a deep understanding of reason and its central role in human life. Reason, according to the Stoics, is the faculty that distinguishes human beings from other animals, and it is our ability to use reason that allows us to live in accordance with nature. Epictetus emphasizes that reason is not just about intellectual knowledge but about aligning one's thoughts, desires, and actions with the rational order of the universe. He teaches that we must use our reason to understand what is truly valuable in life and to guide our actions accordingly. One of his most famous teachings is, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This reflects the Stoic belief that we cannot control external events, but we can control how we interpret and respond to them, and that this response should always be guided by reason and virtue. This focus on reason leads Epictetus to emphasize the importance of self-awareness and self-examination. He teaches that in order to live virtuously, we must be constantly aware of our thoughts and actions, and we must regularly examine whether we are living in accordance with our principles. This practice of self-examination is a key Stoic exercise, and Epictetus urges his students to take responsibility for their own moral development. He writes, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This teaching highlights the Stoic idea that living virtuously requires conscious effort and discipline. It is not enough to hold lofty ideals, we must actively work to embody them in our daily lives. In this part of the Discourses, Epictetus also discusses the Stoic concept of freedom in greater detail. For Epictetus, true freedom is not about being able to do whatever we want, but about being free from the tyranny of our own desires and emotions. He teaches that most people are enslaved by their desires for wealth, power, and pleasure, and that this attachment to external things makes them vulnerable to frustration, disappointment, and misery. True freedom, according to Epictetus. Epictetus also emphasizes that true freedom comes from accepting fate and recognizing that many things in life are beyond our control. He teaches that we must learn to embrace whatever happens as part of the natural order of the universe, rather than resisting or resenting it. This acceptance of fate, known as amor fati in Stoic philosophy, is a key component of Stoic resilience. Epictetus writes, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." By focusing on what we can control, our own reactions and choices, and accepting what we cannot, we can achieve a state of inner peace and freedom from external disturbances. Another major theme in this part of the discourses is the importance of detachment from external goods and outcomes. Epictetus teaches that while it is natural for human beings to seek things like wealth, health, and social status, we should not become attached to these things or base our happiness on them. He frequently reminds his students that external goods are not within our control, and that attachment to them can lead to suffering. For Epictetus, the key to living a good life is to focus on what is within our control, our own thoughts and actions, and to remain indifferent to things that lie outside of it. This Stoic indifference is not about apathy or disengagement from life but about maintaining emotional equanimity in the face of success or failure. Epictetus writes, "Keep your attention focused entirely on what is truly your own concern, and be clear that what belongs to others is their business and none of yours." This teaching on detachment is closely related to Epictetus' reflections on emotional control. The Stoics believe that negative emotions like anger, fear, and envy arise from false judgments about what is truly valuable. For example, we become angry when we believe that something we value has been taken from us, or we become fearful when we believe that something bad is going to happen. Epictetus teaches that by correcting our judgments and recognizing that external things are not truly valuable, we can free ourselves from these destructive emotions. He writes, "It is not he who reviles or strikes you who insults you, but your opinion that these things are insulting." This Stoic approach to emotional control emphasizes the importance of changing our perceptions and attitudes in order to achieve tranquility and resilience. In addition to emotional control, Epictetus also stresses the importance of self-discipline and moral integrity. He teaches that living a virtuous life requires constant effort and vigilance, and that we must be willing to make sacrifices in order to live in accordance with our principles. For example, if we want to be courageous, we must be willing to face danger or hardship without fear. If we want to be just, we must be willing to act fairly even when it is difficult or inconvenient. Discourses is Epictetus' reflections on the role of adversity in shaping character. The Stoics believe that adversity is not something to be avoided but something to be embraced as an opportunity for growth. Epictetus teaches that challenges and hardships are valuable because they allow us to practice and strengthen our virtues. For example, we can only develop courage by facing danger, and we can only develop patience by enduring difficulties. Epictetus writes, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are." This Stoic attitude toward adversity encourages us to view challenges not as obstacles to happiness but as essential components of a life well lived. In this section of the Discourses, Epictetus also explores the Stoic idea of universal brotherhood and cosmopolitanism. He teaches that all human beings are part of a larger, interconnected whole, and that we have a duty to act with justice and compassion toward others. This sense of universal brotherhood is central to Stoic ethics, which emphasizes the importance of treating others fairly and recognizing their inherent dignity as rational beings. Epictetus writes, "What is the first business of one who practices philosophy? To get rid of self-conceit. For it is impossible for anyone to begin to learn that which he thinks he already knows." This teaching highlights the importance of humility and open-mindedness in our interactions with others, as well as the need to recognize our own limitations and biases. Finally, Epictetus emphasizes the importance of gratitude and contentment in cultivating a virtuous life. He teaches that we should be grateful for what we have, rather than constantly striving for more. According to Epictetus, much of our unhappiness comes from desiring things that are beyond our control or from comparing ourselves to others. By focusing on what we already have and practicing gratitude, we can cultivate a sense of contentment and inner peace. He writes, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This Stoic practice of gratitude helps to counterbalance the feelings of envy, greed, and dissatisfaction that often disturb our peace of mind. The second part of Epictetus' Discourses continues to offer profound insights into Stoic philosophy, focusing on the importance of virtue, reason, and self-discipline in achieving a good life. Through his teachings, Epictetus emphasizes that true freedom comes from within, from mastering our desires and emotions, and from accepting the things we cannot control. His reflections on detachment, emotional control, and the role of adversity provide practical guidance on how to navigate life's challenges with resilience and inner peace. Epictetus' teachings on universal brotherhood, justice, and gratitude offer a powerful framework for living a meaningful and fulfilling life in accordance with Stoic principles. Epictetus, a prominent Stoic philosopher of the 1st and 2nd century CE, is best known for his teachings collected in the Discourses, a series of lectures that encapsulate the core principles of Stoic philosophy. Unlike many philosophical texts of his time, which were often abstract and theoretical, Epictetus's Discourses are practical and accessible, intended to guide individuals toward a more virtuous and fulfilling life. His teachings emphasize the importance of personal responsibility, the distinction between what is within our control and what is not, and the cultivation of inner peace through the practice of virtue. At the heart of Epictetus's philosophy is the fundamental idea that individuals are responsible for their own thoughts and actions. He asserts that while we cannot control external events or the behavior of others, we can control our reactions and attitudes toward these circumstances. This distinction forms the foundation of Stoic ethics, encouraging individuals to focus their energy on developing their character and exercising rational judgment. Epictetus famously stated, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This insight serves as a powerful reminder that our responses to life's challenges determine our emotional well-being, rather than the events themselves. A key aspect of Epictetus's teachings is the concept of inner freedom. He argues that true freedom comes not from external circumstances, but from within. This freedom is achieved through the practice of self-discipline and the cultivation of virtue. Epictetus emphasizes that by aligning our desires with nature and living in accordance with reason, we can attain a state of tranquility that is impervious to the chaos of the external world. He encourages individuals to embrace the idea of amor fati, or the love of fate, which involves accepting and embracing whatever life presents. This acceptance fosters resilience and enables individuals to maintain their composure in the face of adversity. The Discourses also explore the importance of distinguishing between things that are truly valuable and those that are not. Epictetus teaches that external goods, such as wealth, status, and physical appearance, are not inherently valuable, rather, they are indifferent. What truly matters are our choices and the cultivation of our character. By focusing on what is genuinely important, wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation, we can lead lives that are not only meaningful but also fulfilling. This focus on virtue over external success encourages individuals to prioritize personal growth and ethical behavior, fostering a sense of purpose that transcends material concerns. Epictetus's teachings also emphasize the role of community and social responsibility. While Stoicism is often perceived as a philosophy of individualism, Epictetus highlights the interconnectedness of all people. He argues that we are all part of a larger whole. Continuing with the exploration of Epictetus's Discourses, we can further examine its themes and their relevance to personal growth, emotional resilience, and ethical living in contemporary society. Epictetus's teachings provide a foundational framework for understanding how to navigate the complexities of human existence while maintaining a commitment to virtue and self-discipline. One of the most profound aspects of Epictetus's philosophy is his approach to emotional regulation. He teaches that emotions are often the result of our judgments and interpretations of events rather than the events themselves. By applying rational thought to our emotional responses, we can cultivate greater control over our feelings. For instance, when faced with criticism or failure, Epictetus encourages us to reflect on our perceptions. Are we allowing external opinions to dictate our self-worth? By recognizing that our value is not contingent upon the approval of others, we can foster resilience against negative emotions. This insight is particularly relevant in today's world, where social media and societal pressures can amplify feelings of inadequacy and anxiety. Epictetus also emphasizes the importance of practice and habituation in developing virtue. He posits that living a virtuous life is not merely about knowing what is right but actively practicing it. He advocates for daily reflection and the incorporation of Stoic principles into everyday actions. This idea of habitual practice aligns closely with modern concepts of behavioral change, where repetitive actions lead to the formation of new habits. By consciously choosing to act in accordance with our values, we gradually shape our character and reinforce our commitment to ethical living. Another significant theme in the Discourses is the idea of acceptance. Epictetus teaches that many of the frustrations and disappointments we experience stem from our resistance to reality. He encourages a mindset of acceptance, where we acknowledge the limits of our control and embrace the present moment. This practice of acceptance does not imply passivity. Instead, it empowers individuals to respond to challenges with clarity and purpose. By accepting what we cannot change, we can channel our energy into actions that align with our values and goals. This Stoic approach to acceptance can be particularly liberating, allowing individuals to let go of unnecessary burdens and focus on what truly matters. Epictetus addresses the importance of perspective in shaping our experiences. He frequently reminds his students that the way we interpret events can significantly influence our emotional responses. By adopting a Stoic perspective, we learn to view challenges as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable obstacles. This shift in mindset fosters resilience and encourages a proactive approach to life. Epictetus's teachings invite us to ask critical questions about our beliefs. Are we framing our experiences in a way that empowers us, or are we allowing negativity to dictate our thoughts? This emphasis on perspective is essential for cultivating a positive and resilient mindset. The relational aspect of Epictetus's philosophy cannot be overlooked. He emphasizes the importance of community and social responsibility, reminding us that our actions impact others. This interconnectedness calls for ethical behavior that considers the well-being of those around us. Epictetus encourages individuals to engage with their communities and act with compassion, reinforcing the notion that ethical living extends beyond personal virtue to include our responsibilities toward others. This perspective is particularly relevant in today's globalized world, where our actions can have far-reaching consequences. Additionally, the conversational style of Epictetus's Discourses makes his teachings more accessible and relatable. He uses dialogues and anecdotes to illustrate his points, inviting readers to engage with his ideas actively. This approach not only makes his philosophy approachable but also encourages critical thinking and self-reflection. By presenting his ideas in a practical context, Epictetus empowers individuals to apply Stoic principles to their own lives, fostering a sense of agency in their personal development. The enduring legacy of Epictetus's Discourses is evident in its influence on various fields, including psychology, philosophy, and leadership. The Stoic emphasis on emotional resilience and rational thought has informed modern therapeutic practices, particularly cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. By encouraging individuals to examine their thoughts and challenge negative beliefs, CBT aligns closely with the Stoic practice of self-examination and rational assessment. This connection underscores the relevance of Epictetus's teachings in contemporary discussions about mental health and emotional well-being. Epictetus's principles of ethical living and personal responsibility resonate in the context of leadership and social justice. Leaders who embody the Stoic virtues of integrity, humility, and service can inspire others to act with purpose and compassion. By prioritizing ethical decision-making and accountability, leaders can foster a culture of trust and collaboration within their organizations and communities. Epictetus's teachings remind us that true leadership is rooted in moral character and the commitment to the greater good.